Palantir CEO Alex Karp just got done talking on CNBC's Squawk Box for an 8:30 a.m. talk about the company, and this comes after many shareholders, retail investors, and no doubt institutional investors were also asking for more presences publicly of Alex Karp. And why is that? Well, he is not on the earnings calls, and it's always a question as to when his next appearance will be, whether it's an interview or something else. But I think he has heard your feedback, and I have heard from someone that he has, because Alex took the time on this Tuesday morning. You'll see him actually in front of some employees in the office, and here he is on CNBC for no reason in particular other than to take some questions. And a lot of them aren't necessarily directly focused on the company, but they do cater towards Palantir. Alex talks about his thoughts on the stock. There's a lot of good stuff in this interview. I recommend watching the whole thing, and I've cut it together for you. But please know that your feedback is heard, and Alex is now appearing because of it. So take that as you will. Enjoy.
Welcome back to Squawk Box. It has been just over a year since Palantir made its public market debut through a direct listing. Palantir, which makes software and analytical tools for companies and the government, has reached profitability and seen its commercial business more than double in the past year, but shares are down more than 10% in 2021 after rising about 188%. Joining us right now in a rare exclusive interview. And what a year it has been. Government revenue up 34% year over year, Q3. I'm looking at commercial customers up 135%. When we talked, when you did the listing, do you think that this was in the offing?
Well, I guess important would be to ask if anyone else thought it was in the offing. I think we've had a rare successful history at Palantir. We began almost 2 decades ago with the idea of providing software platforms to the U.S. government as allies. We are very aligned with our customers and with our owners. We are building products that we have come to see are at least 5 years in the case of our anti-terror products, Foundry, maybe a decade ahead, where we've built and will be delivering new products to the market. We have a lot to be grateful for, and I'm quite happy to be here right before Thanksgiving. We're grateful for our success. We're grateful for many of the things we've been involved in, including disseminating the COVID vaccine to every American, everyone in England. The dissemination of the vaccine itself has saved hundreds of thousands of lives in America. We were involved in helping in Afghanistan of late. And of course, we're quite content with the fact that our results are being seen by the world, and we're planning to deliver more results.
Alex, you stand to benefit, Palantir stands to benefit as a result of this infrastructure bill. Also, potentially this Build Back Better bill in terms of some of the climate components of it. Are you an advocate of both?
Well, definitely on climate. I mean, first of all, obviously, in general, macro trends are macro trends that we thought would happen with some surprises. But what in climate, it basically helping people to understand at a granular level the exact carbon footprint they're carrying in a way that's transparent is structurally similar to what we've been doing in the anti-terror context, in the sense that you have to granularly track things, variables that are across large data sets that are very hard to track and have to be done in a way that's transparent so that third-party, non-technical people can understand what you're doing. And that's obviously something that, Palantir, our products were built to do. We have a lot of experience in industries that are creating a carbon footprint, and we're, I think, well ahead on product developments that will be critical in that area. In general, Palantir, we benefit when societies or institutions focus on a problem. And we've seen that in the anti-terror context and other contexts, climate context. We're not inherently directly correlated, as many people think, to elections or particular spending. Our job is to deliver the world's best products to our clients in full alignment with them. And then their job is to evaluate it and then buy it. And so obviously there'll be a lot of opportunities for us. But primarily, I think we will benefit from the fact that we've been looking at data integration issues that in fact are eating the whole world. We've been involved in these for over 2 decades, and we believe we have ideas and ways of developing software and software products that are just significantly ahead of other people, and that we will benefit, and our clients will benefit even more.
Let me ask you this. Over the last 20 years, the enemy, if you will, for the U.S. and its allies, which you have helped with, has been terrorism, anti-terrorism in particular. Increasingly, the conversation has moved away from terrorism and the Middle East and more towards China. What do you think about that, and what role do you think you have to play in it?
Well, the public discussion has moved recently, but as you know from our many conversations, we've been very focused on what we've called the software war between America and its adversaries, where we believe, and as a company we've been saying for over a decade, this is not a conflict that's linear. So it's not like other conflicts where one country has a slightly better plane than another country has a slightly better boat than another. This is much more like what we saw in World War II, where one country develops a nuclear bomb and they set the rules. And we've been saying this in public, in policy circles for well over a decade, and because we've been saying it in public, we've been very focused on this in private for well over a decade. And a lot of the development on Palantir on the software end doesn't see the public eye for obvious reasons. But we've been very focused on what's generically called AI in the conflict or war setting for a long time, building on innovations we'd already built, the ways in which we work with data in bulk, and then data at the edge. And so as part of this conflict, our basic thesis was this is a winner-take-all conflict. The U.S. and its allies must have the best software in the world. We battled with Silicon Valley about this. Silicon Valley, I think, has changed somewhat. But we were well ahead of telling people externally, this is something we need full alignment on. And obviously, internally, we occasionally listen to ourselves, and we've built what we believe are highly differentiated products, both on bulk data sets, using machine learning and next generation AI in a war setting.
Alex,
and also, yeah.
I was just going to say, you've been, though, very critical of other Silicon Valley companies that have stayed in China. A number of Silicon Valleys have left China. But what do you think of those that are still doing business in China? The biggest, of course, is Apple.
You know, we believe at Palantir in full disclosure. If a company wants to work in an adversarial country, I just think they should work there and defend it. You know, at Palantir, we have our views. Many times those views have been very controversial. We picked up and moved to Denver because our views were too controversial in Silicon Valley. We are an international business. We defend the U.S. government. We defend Western governments all over the world. We have a massive business all over Europe. We have a massive business in the Middle East. We have certain values we stand by. If you want to work in China or in any other country that is adversarial or not adversarial to America, you should disclose it and defend it. Our view, though, is slightly different. You should work wherever you can ethically justify internally and externally. However, if you do not work with the U.S. government, you should disclose why you're not working with the U.S. government and why you're working with other governments that are adversarial to the U.S. government. And that's been our position. We, of course, at Palantir are very proud to develop products that make the Western world stronger, and we hope that those products put us in a position where we decide what the ethics of the world will be. We, America and its allies, not just in America, right. And therefore influence the world in a positive way.
Alex, you have left Denver. You have left Denver. You've left California to go to Denver. A number of big companies, including Tesla, have now moved their headquarters to Austin. Long term, what do you think happens to California? And what do you think is happening in terms of this larger trend?
Well, I mean, honestly, I think people leaving will help California quite a bit because in reality, California has a lot of advantages for building tech, and America is still the strongest tech nation in the world, certainly if it comes to software, enterprise software, technology broadly defined. But California needs competition. And by the way, we didn't leave primarily for economic reasons. We left because it became a monoculture politically. I mean, I happen to be progressive, but we believe in a culture where everyone gets to have an opinion and where people get to defend their opinion. I think this will help California quite a bit long term. Short term, it's a huge problem.
I wanted to ask you about the stock, which of course has done quite remarkably, but I want to read you something and get your feedback on it. This is an analyst who wrote the following. On one hand, Palantir exceeds its own growth estimates, expanding its contractually secured revenues rapidly. Further, the business model is highly scalable, resulting in significant margins. On the other, bears are not wrong to criticize Palantir's cash-burning problem and excessive stock-based compensation, which keeps diluting shareholders to oblivion.
Let me tell you a story of Palantir that it will answer your question. So not the typical obfuscation you're used to from corporate executives. When we went to Silicon Valley and said we are going to build software platforms for the U.S. government, they said, why would you build something for the U.S. government? It's hard to work with government and data is worthless. By the way, they literally said, why would you focus on data protection? No one will believe the product will work. And by the way, something that's fully aligned with your clients is just not smart. You should turn your clients into a product and monetize them. We rejected that advice, and then we went to the U.S. government and they told us, build your product in a way we want, i.e. a PowerPoint developed by someone who was not technical for something that was necessary in the 70s. We didn't do that. We built a number of products that are now in the market and are winning in the market. To do that, we've hired the best and most interesting and eclectic people in the world. They work at Palantir. They work at Palantir for lots of reasons, but they're very fairly comped. And we will continue to develop these products and continue to comp people. And we are very, very focused on being fully aligned with our clients and fully aligned with people who own our stock. What does that mean in the real world? It means that we will continue to be very focused on delivering value. We will continue to comp people, and I don't believe we're deluding people into oblivion. I thought it was pretty interesting, by the way, about the analysts, many of whom are highly substantive and attuned to our product, is de facto they're saying what the generals used to say to us: build the product we can understand, and then we'll reward you with capital. We're building the product our clients need and the world needs, and we believe over time, and we've already seen this, the world will reward us and will reward our shareholders. And that's basically our view.
Right. Alex Karp, it's great to see you. It's been a great success story. We look forward to following your progress, and we wish you a happy Thanksgiving.